Did you know that the fall of the Berlin Wall, one of the 20th century's most pivotal and iconic moments, was actually triggered by a simple mistake? It wasn't the result of months of careful planning or a dramatic political negotiation. Instead, it was a moment of confusion that changed the course of history forever. On November 9, 1989, an East German government official stood before a room full of journalists at a routine press conference. He was handed a note about new travel regulations, but he misunderstood the details. When asked when the new rules would take effect, he hesitated, then blurted out, "As far as I know, effective immediately." The room erupted in disbelief. That single, fumbled answer was broadcast live on television and radio, reaching millions of East Germans who had long dreamed of freedom. Suddenly, hope that had been suppressed for nearly 3 decades was unleashed. People began to wonder, could it really be true? Was the border finally open? That night, November 9, 1989, disbelief turned to euphoria as the news spread like wildfire. At first, Berliners hesitated, unsure if it was a trap or a misunderstanding. Families gathered around radios, neighbors whispered in hallways, and people peered cautiously toward the border crossings, not daring to believe what they'd heard. But as word spread from apartment to apartment and street to street, a trickle of curiosity became a flood of determination. Ordinary people, students, workers, parents, and children, began to gather at the wall. It wasn't politicians or generals who led the way, but everyday Berliners, united by a shared longing for freedom and change. The border guards, overwhelmed by the sheer number of people and the emotion in the air, faced an impossible choice. With no clear orders and thousands of hopeful faces before them, they made a profoundly human decision. They opened the gates. In that moment, history poured through, unstoppable and irreversible. The sound of hammers striking concrete echoed through the night, as people from both east and west began to tear down the wall with their own hands. It was the sound of the Iron Curtain crumbling, the birth of a new era, and a testament to the courage and hope of ordinary people who changed the world, by accident. The Berlin Wall was more than concrete. It was a fortress nearly 100 miles long, with trenches, guard dogs, and shoot-to-kill orders. It sliced through Berlin, severing streets, tram lines, even families overnight. Imagine waking up to find your grandmother's house now in another country, unreachable. The wall was a daily, painful reality, a psychological barrier as much as a physical one. For East Berliners, it was a symbol of confinement. For West Berliners, a reminder of freedom's fragility. Children grew up with half their city forbidden, hearing stories of a united Berlin only from their parents. The wall became a silent antagonist, breeding suspicion, fear, and a trauma that lingered long after the concrete fell. Its physical scars could be erased, but the emotional wounds would take far longer to heal. To understand the wall, go back to the end of World War II. Germany and Berlin were split among the Allies, but as the Cold War deepened, so did the divide. West Berlin became a capitalist island in communist East Germany, a beacon of freedom and an escape hatch. Between 1949 and 1961, millions fled East Germany through Berlin, draining the East of talent and hope. Desperate to stop the exodus, East Germany, with Soviet backing, sealed the border overnight on August 13, 1961. The wall was quickly fortified, transforming from barbed wire to a concrete fortress. Officially, it was the anti-fascist protection rampart, but everyone knew it was built to lock people in, not keep enemies out. The wall became the ultimate symbol of a failed regime, an Iron Curtain made real. Life on either side of the wall was a study in contrasts. West Berlin thrived, modern shops, vibrant culture, and open debate flourished, making it a showcase for Western freedom. In East Berlin, the state controlled everything: jobs, media, even thoughts. Shortages were common, but so was guaranteed employment and healthcare. The Stasi's surveillance bred paranoia, neighbors spied on neighbors, and trust was rare. Young people in the West embraced punk and rebellion. In the East, even listening to Western music was an act of quiet defiance. Despite the wall, ideas and hope seeped through, proving that concrete couldn't stop the human desire for freedom. People learned to live double lives: public conformity, private resistance. The wall divided a city, but it couldn't fully divide its people. The Berlin Wall was the Cold War's most powerful symbol, a concrete line between democracy and communism. World leaders made it the backdrop for history. Kennedy's "Ich bin ein Berliner," and Reagan's "Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall," turned local suffering into a global cause. For the West, the wall was proof of oppression. For the East, a shield against corruption. But in truth, it revealed the regime's weakness. Every escape, every death at the wall, was a testament to the system's failure. The wall's existence was a daily argument for freedom, and its fall would become the Cold War's defining moment. It was a stage for global drama, but also a daily tragedy for those it divided. In the end, the wall's symbolism proved more powerful than its concrete. From the very first day the Berlin Wall rose, East Germans risked everything for a chance at freedom, digging tunnels beneath the concrete, sewing together homemade hot air balloons, even daring to zip-line across the deadly border. Each escape attempt was a testament to human ingenuity and the unbreakable desire for liberty. Families were torn apart, friends whispered plans in the shadows, and every successful escape sent ripples of hope through those left behind. These stories of courage inspired countless others, fueling dreams of a life beyond the wall and embarrassing the regime that tried to keep its people captive. Every escape was a small victory, a spark that kept the flame of resistance alive. But the cost was high. At least 140 people lost their lives trying to cross, their memories honored by white crosses and candlelight vigils along the wall. Still, the attempts never stopped. Night after night, determined faces pressed on, risking everything for a taste of freedom. By the late 1980s, the winds of change were unmistakable. Graffiti on city walls, whispered conversations, and bold headlines all hinted at a shifting tide. Mikhail Gorbachev's sweeping reforms signaled that the Soviet Union would no longer prop up the hardline Eastern regimes. The old order was beginning to crumble. In a historic move, Hungary opened its border with Austria, breaking the Iron Curtain for the first time. Suddenly, a new escape route emerged, one that thousands would soon take. Train stations and border crossings overflowed with East Germans desperate to flee, families clutching suitcases and hope, determined to start anew. The government, once all-powerful, now found itself powerless to stop the exodus. Border guards watched helplessly as their authority slipped away. Back home, the spirit of resistance grew. What began as quiet church meetings soon swelled into massive demonstrations filling city squares. Crowds chanted, "We are the people," a rallying cry that echoed through the streets and captured the world's attention. The state's grip was slipping. The once feared authorities began to retreat, and the wall's barbed wire seemed less menacing. A peaceful revolution was gaining momentum, fueled by hope, unity, and the unwavering belief in a better future. The wall, once unbreakable, now showed cracks, vulnerable to the will and determination of ordinary people. The dream of freedom, once a whisper, was now a roar, unstoppable, undeniable, and about to change the world forever. The East German government, desperate to regain control, announced a new travel law on November 9, 1989. At a live press conference, spokesman Günter Schabowski, confused and unprepared, blurted out that the new rules took effect immediately. The news flashed across Berlin. The wall was open, now. Crowds surged to the checkpoints, overwhelming the unprepared guards. Unsure what to do, the guards faced a choice: violence or humanity. At Bornholmer Strasse, Officer Harold Jaeger made history. He opened the gates. The wall, for decades a symbol of division, was suddenly just a relic. A bureaucratic blunder had set millions free. As the gates opened on that historic November night, Berliners from both east and west surged forward, their faces alight with disbelief and joy. Decades of separation melted away in an instant as families reunited, friends embraced, and strangers shared tears of happiness. The air was electric with hope, and the city pulsed with the energy of newfound freedom. People danced in the streets, their laughter echoing through the night, while others took up hammers and chisels, chipping away at the concrete that had divided them for so long. Each blow a celebration of liberty, broadcast to a world watching in awe. The East German government, unable to withstand the tidal wave of change, collapsed almost overnight. Its leaders resigned, and the old order crumbled before the eyes of millions. What began as calls for free travel quickly transformed into passionate demands for reunification, as people realized that the impossible was suddenly within reach. Less than a year later, in a moment that once seemed unimaginable, Germany was whole again. The black, red, and gold of the German flag waved triumphantly over a united nation. Berlin, once a symbol of division, was restored as the capital of a new unified Germany, a city reborn from the ashes of its past. The fall of the wall sent shockwaves across Eastern Europe. In Czechoslovakia, Bulgaria, Romania, and beyond, people took to the streets, inspired by Berlin's courage and determined to claim their own freedom. One by one, communist regimes toppled in quick succession. The Warsaw Pact, once a symbol of Soviet power, dissolved into history, its purpose lost in the tide of change. Even the mighty Soviet Union unraveled, as its people demanded reform and independence, bringing an end to an era that had shaped the world for nearly half a century. The Cold War, which had cast a shadow over generations, ended not with a battle or a bomb, but with the sound of hammers striking concrete, and the determined, peaceful will of ordinary people. It was a revolution of hope, a testament to the power of unity and the human spirit's longing for freedom. The world's map was redrawn as borders shifted, nations emerged, and a new Europe began to take shape before the eyes of the world. With the dawn of a new era, hope and possibility filled the air. The people of Berlin and of Europe looked to the future with optimism, eager to build a better world. The collapse of the Berlin Wall proved that even the mightiest barriers, physical or ideological, can fall when people stand together. It was the first domino, setting off a chain reaction that changed everything, and marked the birth of a new Europe. Today, fragments of the Berlin Wall stand as memorials, but its true legacy is the triumph of hope over fear. The fall of the wall reshaped Europe, ended the Cold War, and gave millions a chance at freedom and democracy. Yet the transition was not easy. Economic and social divides linger, and new walls, both real and metaphorical, are rising in our world. The story of the Berlin Wall reminds us that freedom is never guaranteed. It must be defended by every generation. Change can come from the most unexpected places, and ordinary people can alter history. The wall was built on fear, but its fall was a celebration of hope and unity. That lesson, that bridges are better than walls, remains as urgent today as ever.